What you're about to witness is the culmination of some of the worst feelings I've ever felt while playing MCOC, the hardest fights I've ever done, and the absolute agony I went through while exploring Epoch of Pain with no health potions. For reference, that was just some of the first run of Ares I attempted. I was not ready for this fight. And let me be clear, I didn't want to do Epoch with no health potions, but when you're late to previous content and have been free to play for over a year, have no free crystals, and no potion stash to work with, you don't have many options. I wasn't going to let that stop me from trying, so let's start breaking it down. I started my first run by doing the Cosmic Skill Cassie lane, bringing in a rank 3 Serpent, a rank 3 Bullseye, and Odin. Serpent was by far the biggest carry for this lane. The path fights went surprisingly smoothly, but I had already had a good amount of practice using Serpent from the God's Necropolis Karina's challenge. I did die a few times, but that was to be expected. The real kicker was Ares, would you believe it or not. I had heard that having a list of the actions that should be performed had helped some people, so I watched about 2 minutes of MSD doing his run, and then went in for my first attempt. I died about 30 times during that fight. In retrospect, I probably should have looked at his abilities instead of encountering them one by one across the fight, but I didn't. And so, with my confidence absolutely shattered, I had the terrible idea to do my second run on the same day. My second run was the Mutant Mystic Spiderham lane. For this, I brought in rank 3 Onslaught, rank 3 Kushala, and rank 3 White Tiger. The path breakdown is as follows. I used Onslaught for Spiderham, I used Kushala for Viv, White Tiger for Nihilus, Onslaught for Moleman, I used everyone for Danny, and I used White Tiger for Tigro. Now, you may have caught that one of my matchups was a bit of a misplay, that being Onslaught for Moleman. I entirely missed that I had Kushala who could have greatly outpaced Onslaught's damage for this fight. In my mind, my Kushala was unduped, so she had no chance of ever placing passives. I entirely dismissed the fact that I only would have needed to push Moleman to 20 charges before I wouldn't have had to have worried about it. If I had just used Kushala over Onslaught, I probably would have saved 6 to 8 revives. My Ares run was a little better, but it was still pretty pricey. I was not feeling good about Epoch at this point in time, so I decided to just stay out of everything MCOC for the rest of the day. Day 2 of Epoch comes around, and I've been hearing that the Nebula lane has had some decent results. My revive stash is pretty low, and I still don't feel like I've got Ares under control. I figured I might as well try out the lane and get some practice in at that. I decided my third run would tackle the Cosmic Skill Nebula lane, bringing in a rank 2 Arcus, rank 2 Black Widow Deadly Origin, and a rank 3 Blade who literally didn't get used for the entire path. At first, I just wanted to confirm that Arcus would work the way that I thought he would, which was essentially just never hitting the opponent and building up to a special 3 through passive power gain. This worked incredibly well. I was able to solo both Nebula and Northstar in 2 minutes 30 seconds. Destroyer wasn't quite a solo, but Black Widow Deadly Origin brought him down close enough that I figured this would be a good place to start the run, and I could just throw units at it if I really needed to. Arcus and Black Widow Deadly Origin cleaned up Photon. Arcus took care of Adam, and similarly with Aegon. I'd now arrived at Ares with one of the best path runs so far. Again, I didn't have much Ares practice, so I wasn't super confident. However, after first pushing him down to 70% with the leftover health of Arcus and Black Widow Deadly Origin, I had my first actual run against Ares. In 0 revives, I had taken him all the way down to his final phase. Unfortunately, this did turn into an 8 revive encounter, but I was absolutely fine with this kind of progress. But it did feel like I was truly out of items at this point. So I did something I don't necessarily like doing, which is revive farming. I had 40 energy refills laying around, and I knew I could approximately turn this into enough resources for at least one more run. Given the success of the Nebula lane, I thought I may as well continue on that path. My fourth run was the Science Tech Nebula lane, bringing in a rank 3 Photon, a rank 3 Silk, and a rank 2 Omega Sentinel. The only particularly dicey fight was the Omega Sentinel vs Adam, but even then it only cost a couple revives. Another really solid path run leading up to Ares. At this point, I certainly felt more confident against Ares, although I was still occasionally getting caught off guard by the super slow specials right at the start of the fight, but overall, I knew I was making good progress. Conveniently, this run also happened to give me a Tech 7-star crystal, which just so happened to give me a first time dupe on my rank 3 Prowler. This was maybe the single best outcome I could have hoped for, especially given my next run. My 5th run was the Science Tech Hulkling lane, bringing rank 3 Photon, rank 3 Silk, and rank 3 freshly duped Prowler. I used Silk for Hulkling, Absorbing Man, Idu, and Jessica Jones. I used Photon for Onslaught, which is quite a slow fight, and Prowler for Jabari. At this point, my path fights were now getting to reasonably low revive levels. I managed to get all solos up until Jabari, but even then Jabari was just a 2 revive fight. Ares was also feeling a lot more manageable now, although I hadn't gotten a no revive Ares run yet. This run ended up being a 4 revive fight, which was still well within my budget. And so, with a little more revive farming beforehand, I got ready for my 6th and final run. For this path, I was going down the Mutant Mystic Cassie lane, bringing rank 3 Onslaught, rank 3 Iceman, and rank 2 White Magneto. I knew Iceman wasn't going to be a particularly big MVP for this lane, especially considering that Cassie was immune to Cold Snap. I decided to bring him in to test against Gwenpool, Iron Fist, and Toad. And given my fights against them, I can confidently say that I'm glad I never have to fight that Toad again. I used more revives than I personally want to admit on this lane, but I had enough left over that I knew I would be fine against Ares. You may have already put it together by this point, but the fight against Ares you've been watching since I started delving into the individual runs was the run I got against Ares on my final path. And to be honest, when I said I didn't heal throughout any of Epoch, that's not entirely true. I didn't heal for any fight except this very last Ares attempt. I knew this would be my last attempt to go for a solo, so I gave it my best attempt and you'll see where I ended up on this run shortly. Since Ronan isn't out as a 7-star yet, I didn't have any particular class I wanted from the 3 to 4 rank up gem, and if you're curious, the champs I would have ranked up goes as follows. Tech would have been Warlock, Mutant would have been Onslaught, Skill would have been Shang-Chi, Science would have been Photon, except I wasn't super set on this choice, Science just has so many amazing options and Photon just helps me the most. Mystic would have been White Tiger, and Cosmic would have been Surfer, as much as I would have wanted to keep the gem until Ronan comes around. As for my generic Awakening gem, I would 100% go Onslaught if I get a Mutant 3 to 4. It might go to Idu if I got a Tech 3 to 4, but even then I think I'd still rather go Warlock. Past that, I have most of the essential Awakenings that I want. If I didn't get a 3 to 4 Mutant, I'd be less inclined to use it on Onslaught, since he wouldn't be getting the boost I would expect from a generic Awakening gem. Even then, I do still need to consider my alliance, because even though they don't enforce any minimum prestige requirements, I am in the bottom 3 for prestige, so I'd like to change that if I can. And as we approach the end of the boss fight, I'd like to go over how I felt about this content. Honestly, they did very well with this quest design, but having a fully skill-based boss fight after these paths is brutal. He feels very different to other Everest content bosses, and that's fine. It's not like Necropolis paths are any easier to make your way through to go up against a nameless Grandmaster, but this one does feel different in a way that I can't properly describe. It almost feels like we've been conditioned from Act 7 upwards to expect the nodes to work in our favour in some regard. There is the Vigor mechanic obviously, but it's not the same. There's no wounded phase, you need to get your damage out while you're fighting to stay alive. I'm also very glad that this fight is entirely skill based, solely because I feel no pressure to go back and try fighting him again with different champions. It definitely helped me using a variety of champions throughout my paths to get used to his animations. Fighting him over and over with 15 or so unique champions didn't just allow me to get used to how I should fight him, but helped me understand how Ares tries to fight me. It certainly felt rewarding to have little milestones occur during the exploration of Epoch. Even going from a double-digit revive count to a single-digit revive count felt like a big milestone to me, and then having full phases cleared without dying felt greater again. This content is tough, this content is made to be a pain, literally. You don't have to rush it, there's nothing wrong with using items either. With that being said, kabam, please add a different way to get health potions. I know we should be using units to buy them, but that's no fun. And so here was the result of my best run of Ares. I managed to get Ares all the way from full HP to his final phase in one go. This was absolutely the biggest milestone I broke in this journey. I did make heavy use of the pause trick throughout my fight, but I'm still very proud of how far I got. This run was magnitudes better than any of my previous attempts. And even with the pause trick up my sleeve, it was not always my perfect crutch, as I still need to actually do the actions. So unfortunately, no solo for me, but this was a damn good run. I figured even if I can't get the solo, I could at least go for the 0 revive Ares run. Iceman had a solid 20% health remaining, so I figured White Mags would be my best bet. He was only in here to give me White Mags pre-fights for Cassie, Prowler and Ares, but I know he has more than just pre-fights in him. And evidently I needed more than just the 20% health for this run. While I let the rest of this fight play out, I'd just like to thank you for sticking with me while I yammered on for 10 minutes. Hopefully your Epoch exploration went smoothly, or is at least finished now. If you still have more paths to do, I can only wish you the best of luck for your runs and to try out some various methods people have found or used. I certainly needed a reminder for the special actions for my first couple runs, but I got used to the methods eventually. The pause trick was an absolute lifesaver, so I'd recommend it to anyone wanting to employ it. You can find a more detailed explanation on how to do it over at Nagase's channel, go subscribe to him if you haven't, and I'll have the opening and rank 4 rank up just after this fight, so make sure to stick around to the end. But once again, thank you. And so there we have it, a 0 revive Ares under my belt, which I am perfectly okay with. I have no desire to go back and get a solo anytime soon. And if I had to guess, Epoch is probably going to come back in some Karina's challenge at some point, so I'll probably end up with a solo there. I am certainly glad to be done with this content for now though. Obviously, the 3 to 4 gem is the big star of the show here, but there are a couple bonus crystals. To be honest, I'm not particularly excited about the Titan Nexus since I have most champs in the current pool, but I'm still going to open it. The main pull I want from this Mystic 7-star would be Werewolf by Night, but there's also a first time dupe on Kushala and Chavez, plus more Sigs on White Tiger would be nice. Nope, instead it's a Sig 60 more. Oh well. Up next, I'll open the Titan Nexus. The big pulls here would be a first time Enchantress dupe and first time Spiral. Okay, it was looking pretty grim. That Superior Iron Man has definitely saved this though. I will gladly take the first time dupe on him. That is good. Alright, we have the Epoch Nexus next. There's a lot of pulls I'd be looking for, so it's hard to call out any beforehand. Oh, Ironheart? Oh yeah, okay, I think that's definitely got to be Ironheart. That is a very solid pickup. The Jaw Awakening is tempting, but I think the new champ is better here. I already went through my top picks for each class earlier, but generally I'm fine with whatever comes by. Alright, I am not escaping skill, so that is going to be a rank 4 Shang-Chi. Thankfully, I did also pull a skill awakening gem from my Necropolis Karinas. Shang-Chi does not need the awakening, but I've got so few uses for it that I may as well. It is my first rank 4 after all. I could alternatively save it for Ooyy, but Shang-Chi is my favourite skill champ, so let's just do it. I am super happy with this rank up, and I'm very grateful to my alliance that we get to choose anyone we want for our first couple rank 4s. Of course, we should probably get to testing out his damage, eh? It might not be a win, but it's a win in my heart. Thank you very much for watching. I hope to see you again soon. Take care everyone.